Okay, we're going to be watching Nnajj, who's playing Rammatra, and then Sigma a little later on Midtown. This is Gold 1, I think it's on PC. I feel that in both matches, they posted two matches, one's a win, one's a loss, I'm covering the loss. I played okay, well enough for a gold tank, but I do feel that there were key moments where I fumbled and ultimately lost as a team fight. It just so happened that in the first match, my team was able to squeak it out, whereas in the second one, they could not recover from my mistakes. I would like specific feedback on ability usage, positioning, and target priority, as well as if there were times where I was just flat out doing the wrong thing. Any feedback is much appreciated. Cool, so let's cover into this. So I did a pre-watch of this. I would say overall, what we're going to be looking at is I like your overall feel of gameplay. I think that you're trying to looking to maximize value. I think you're trying to put a lot of pressure on the opposing team. Your primary issue overall is overextending, and I would follow that up with ability usage. I mean, that's pretty common for most tanks. In my opinion, when you're trying to learn and grow as a player on basically all roles, is to be over-aggressive versus under-aggressive. Because when you're over-aggressive, you're trying to eke value out every single possible way that you can. And then sometimes you get punished, but that's good because that's a mistake and you learn from that. And you're like, look, that was too far. I can't quite that much value, right? I can't dive in this deep, or I can't throw that ability at this time, or I can't, go for this sleep, whatever it is. If you're under-aggressive, it's much harder to learn because you're like, I feel like I'm doing everything right and I'm not dying, but we're still getting steamrolled, And that's why I tell people, like, hey, try all the things that you can. Try to be aggressive. Try to go for a play. Be like, hey, can I ult here? Because that will help you learn. That being said, I'm still going to go through this video. I'm going to identify when you tried to go too far. Okay? So let's play this out. You're going to start, and you're going to figure out right away that you're playing against Sigma. And against Sigma, I would say that you can get very aggressive against Sigma in Nemesis form. And the general idea I think of is, you pop shield to stop the spam. You try to get around his shield, but you can break it. If he's really good with shield, you can break it because it only has 700 health. So you try to get around / break his shield and pressure him with staff. Then he's going to pop grasp, at which point you can pop nemesis and then run him down. And the reason why you pop nemesis while he's in grasp is because he can't attack you, and he doesn't absorb your attacks. So you're doing full damage to him while he's doing 0 damage to you, which puts an enormous pressure on his team. Right? Because suddenly he's taking 80 damage a second while doing 0 damage to you, which allows you to just walk over his team. And as for Vortex, I would say one tip that I think of, a little more so now, but like I definitely saw in this video, is try not to throw Vortex at the very beginning until his shield is deployed. Because it's very common that he puts out shields early, and then it will inadvertently block your Vortex and prevent you from getting value. So that's something to think of. Alright, so we start here. Spamming a little bit. So this is what I mean by the vortex, right? You see, like, I don't think he was trying to block your vortex. I think this is just like entirely coincidental that the timing happened to be like this, but this is also the perfectly normal timing for Sigma. So you totally waste this vortex, which is a 12-second cooldown, right? A big cooldown by happenstance of him blocking it. And even if this was like a dead-on vortex, it's not like a great space because most of your team will not be able to commit here because he's going to walk to his left, even slowly walk to his left. Your team still has to deploy here, and then he can use grasp if he's really in trouble. Ideally, if your team was all like this, then it would be a great vortex, because then he's going to die here, right? Or grasp, and then die after that, because he's really exposed. So just be a little more patient with vortex, and think about whether or not it can be blocked, can I get maximum value out of it, etc. Oh, the other thing I would mention is this shield is way too early. You see how no one's even shooting the shield right now, and the fact that you put your shield here prevents you from walking forwards. I would probably want to make it to this corner, and then put the shield like this, and then step out and see if I can make space. In particular, the best thing would be if I can get all the way to the other side by using the shield, and then change up and have at least 2 different angles. And then I can continue pressuring. So basically, bad shield, bad vortex. I would avoid jumping. Rock. So this shield is, once again, not great. So when you toss it, you're not even being attacked. Okay, remember that your health is also an important resource here. So if people are able to heal you, you don't necessarily need to put the shield down. Now, granted, your Kiriko is actually pretty far back, right? I think that I actually want to advance more and probably put the shield here. Because the idea of taking space as tank is you win one corner at a time. Right? This is the first corner you have to fight for, right? This is the second, this is the third, and then either left or right side of fire truck is like the 4th corner, right? If I can get one step forward, instead of this pillar, I can take this pillar or this taxi. I really like playing this position, right? Or both of these are fine, right? Then I should. Because if you put the shield here, basically, think of it this way. What's a shield that's too far? Obviously, a shield that's behind them is too far, right? But a shield that is literally like right here, where like technically might be on them, but they can step through and feel safe stepping through, that's also too far. You want to put the shield just behind too far, okay? So for example, in this case, the optimal shield is probably something like this, much further up, because they're not going to want it. Like the Zen isn't going to step through that shield all the way over here to attack you, right? But this shield put too far back prevents you from taking more space, which slows your team down. Because you're not going to be able to attack again until you get another shield. So, again, every shield you pop is, like, the further up you can get, the more ground you can take. And the more ground you can take, the sooner you can get to winning the fight. And everything in Overwatch, at the end of the day, is still about time. How fast can you accomplish your objective? So the more forward you can put your shield, the faster you can accomplish your objective, and the more pressure you put on the opposing team. This is a mistake that I do that I've been trying to cut out. Try not to hit people with the vortex. It's really silly, but it like hits them and then it like lingers in the air, and then it drops to the ground, which makes it usually not a particularly good vortex because it takes so long to fall. So what would have been a good vortex is good, but then you throw it to the ground, or then it bounces, hovers in the air, then hits the ground. Honestly think this is silly. I think it should just like drop faster or explode on impact. But just a minor tip for the ability. So right now you advance to this corner, which again, I think you could have taken for free with the previous shield. But now notice that you have a good chunk of time here before you have shield again. So you're close, you decide to pop Nemesis here. I think this is okay, but not great decision. Why? Your team, which you're not looking back, like you never look back to see how close your team is to you. All right, number one, is your team is just not close enough to really help you. Your Mercy is the only one who can help you, and she's very overextended to help you here. She could easily die in the air right now, number one. Number two, the shield blocks your team from helping. So even the ones who want to step out here can't help you right away because the shield blocks off most of the sight line. Number three, look at the enemy team setup. So you're going to advance around this corner. And you see how all 5 of them can see you and hit you right now, but your team cannot do the same thing to them. That's like a major problem right now. You're putting yourself into basically a 5-on-2 situation unnecessarily. And I think you just needed a little more patience here to play this corner and be like, look, you know what? I'm just going to spam here from the staff, wait for my next shield, and then use that shield as an opening. Which is unfortunate because, you know, you want to play faster, but you see how you accomplish virtually nothing with this Nemesis, okay? You go over here, you're going to pop Nemesis, right? You get 1 hit out of that, lose 300 something health, and are forced back anyway, and the Sigma takes back the exact same spot, right? You see, he has no fear of you because he recognizes that you're very lucky that hit the top. He recognizes that you messed up, right? I would say in general, looking at this replay, I would say the enemy tank outplayed you for most of the game. The Sigma realizes that you messed up, like you kind of popped Nemesis here, totally wasted it, didn't get any value, and he's like, wow, okay, because you're getting obliterated here, you know? Like you try to pop Nemesis, and you're like, oh, now's my time, I'm going to fight. But you're discorded, you have 5 people shooting at you, you immediately take half your health and damage, you try to fight again, but you're only really getting healed by Kiriko. Your Mercy's had to bail because it's super hard for her to stand there, which is understandable. Like, she can't stand anywhere here, right? Because the Sigma, the Torb, like the Baptiste, like there's no way she can stand that close. And that's why you're not getting enough healing, is because you're just standing in a very overextended position. So you get spooked, right? You get low here, and what you really should have done is just like sit here and just wait to get health. Because there's not a lot that you could do right now in this position. Instead, you back up. You give up a corner. You give up the space. But why? You're almost like full health right now when you pop the shield. You should be advancing again. So you kind of like make the initial mistake and then double down and make the mistake even worse, because now you're actually fine and you have your window, but now you messed up the shield. And you decide to give up, probably because you're like, oh, I can't get through front. But that's not true. You 100% can get through front. But the reason you're not getting through front is because you're not using that shield to get you in, so then you can start popping Nemesis. And we're actually going to see you do it correctly later. So you decide to take this upper route. I don't have a Midtown guy, but if I did, I would say that tanks should almost never go through top. I think top is suicide unless you're playing a very specific and coordinated comp. So you're going to come through, and your Mercy, God bless her, decides to follow you here. And again, let's look at the situation, right? It's like you have the Kiriko, and you have your Mercy here. Your DPS are completely zoned. your Cassidy has in fact died. Partially because he's not getting healed, right? Like, both of the supports have followed you, which is a mistake. But when you move away from your team, your supports have to make a call as to stay with you or stay with their team. Like, the Mercy should have followed your DPS here in this situation very clearly, but she didn't, right? And like, when you make things complicated for your team, they are more likely to make mistakes because the game is hard, right? So that's why one of the things I preach is make the game easier for your teammates, right? Make the reads simpler, make their lives easier to heal you, to follow you, right? Keep your team together. When you split and try to go this solo thing, now your team's like, wait, what do we do? Should the DPS follow? Should the supports follow? Which support should follow, right? Should anybody be following? It's one of the reasons why people complain about ball, right? And try to play with ball, because people who aren't used to playing with ball have no idea what to do, right? And they're like, oh, the ball is throwing, but no, the ball might be playing fine, but if you don't know what to do with the ball and you're trying to like teleport or follow the ball around as Mercy, then you get killed and you're like, what am I supposed to do in this situation? It's really hard to make those reads. Anyway, so your Cassie dies here because he doesn't get healed. He's not overextended, right? This is a perfectly regular spot to be playing. He just doesn't have any healing. He gets the Cassie super low here too, right? The Sigma is super low. The Sigma is like one punch away from dying. Anyway, so you don't read that the fact that the Sigma is low, and now you're just kind of hanging out here doing nothing, right? Again, let's watch from your perspective. You come through. By the way, you have shield in 4 seconds here, so I probably would have waited for a shield at a minimum. I think the whole attack is a mess, but I definitely would have waited for the shield because the shield would be extremely useful, right? If you waited 2 seconds to put the shield down, then you could at least go after the Sigma, Hanzo, whatever you need to do. So this is completely like useless for the most part. Like, you're not actually doing anything. You should take this opportunity to kill the turret, which has been there the whole time. You can also hear it. Then you start shooting the turret. You don't even use the shield. By the way, you like step in front of the shield. But I want to kind of rewind here and look at your positioning when you come out of this train. Again, your Cassie's dead, so it's already 4 on 5, which makes it unlikely to win. You kind of punch the air a bunch, right? I think you should realize right away, like, this is not going to work. Like, whatever my plan here is simply not going to work, and I just need to reset. But going back here, right? It's like, okay, you punch a Sigma who's like kind of low, and like it doesn't have the support zone, so I understand this. But looking at this situation, it's just you and the Mercy. It's so lucky nobody's killing the Mercy. The Mercy should be dead a million times over at this point, right? You have the Zen shooting your side, you have the Bap shooting your side, you have the Sigma shooting in front of you, you have the Torb shooting above, you have the turret shooting above. Like, you're getting attacked on 270 degrees of angle, and that's why you're getting absolutely blasted here. You need to keep the enemy in front of you unless you're going to kill them very, very quickly, which is clearly not the case here, right? You don't have the ability to Vortex them down. You already used Vortex on the Hanzo. You maybe could have killed the Hanzo, but you missed a lot of attacks on the Hanzo coming out. I still think it would have been hard because he was covered by the supports, but like right here, like you missed the whole staff, right? Then you miss a punch, right? Hit one, miss, right? Maybe hit one there. Like, just mechanically, you're just not gonna be able to kill him with support and help. Like, theoretically, can you kill him? Yeah, I think if your aim was really good and like nearly perfect, I think you could have killed him here. But I think that's a very high bar to set for yourself and not a consistent play. All right, so you're gonna come out again. Sigma moving very aggressive, which makes sense, right? That's good Vortex behind him. So when you saw the shield, you should have immediately swung to the right. So again, use the opportunity to take space, right? He grasps right now, great. You still have 15 ammo, shoot the rest of the turret, walk up, reload, shoot the turret, and kill it. Like, you really want to take the next corner. Yeah, just hold it down. Yeah, you will kill it. You will kill it faster than you can repair it. Again, another shield too far back, right? You want the shield up here. Try to put the shield as far forward as you can, as a general rule. The Zen's overextended. You recognize that right away, right? You really should hit that shot. You're gonna get kind of blasted here. Pull the Sigma back down. Alright, so you're going to make a bunch of mistakes here, and I'm going to kind of rewind back so we can cover them slowly. So for starters, this is an example of when it is a good time to go. First of all, your shield's in a bad place, but the Sigma's just use Grasp, okay? But you recognize the Zen has clearly overextended. Like, very obviously made a mistake. Like, before when the Zen was over here, you'll never get to him. But now the Zen's like, wait, quite close to you, you have full health, you have your team with you. Right? Kiriko's in the back for some reason, but she can switch that forward really easily. Your Cassidy is dead, but beyond that, like, this is as good as an opportunity as you've gotten so far. So you recognize that you go immediately for the Zen, which is the right call, right? You kill the Hanzo, which is great. As soon as Lamp went down, you should have been like, okay, I need a new plan because you're not going to be able to kill him, right? So I think that it would have been reasonable to even just retreat back, because the second that you break line of sight, you should think, I no longer get any healing. I shouldn't expect any healing at this point. So unless you think you can kill Lamp and kill Zen while Baptista's there, without getting any healing, you should be like, abort the plan and just run right back, which would be totally fine, right? You run back right back here, you reset the fight, right? You've already traded Hanzo for Cassidy here, and you have closer spawn. Like, this is fine, right? Just take what you can get, pull back, reset. But instead, you double down here, right? Also would have been okay if you really wanted to retreat the other side. You're also getting very, very low here. At this point, you should just held block, right? Like, you are crazy lucky to not die there. Kiriko Kitsune rushes to try to save you, pulls you down. I think the shield is fine. You get lifted, and now you make your next mistake. 3, 2, 1, lifted. Your Nemesis form is available right now. So if you're worried about dying, okay, you could have popped Nemesis, but I would pop Nemesis after you hit the ground, because that way it doesn't also reduce the extra 115-ish damage for the bonus armor that you get. Okay? So while I was in the air, I would have used this opportunity to attack the turret, which has been constantly a thorn in my side this whole game, and you should have prioritized killing the turret every time you come out. And then after you hit the ground, then you can pop Nemesis. But instead of popping Nemesis, what you do is you pop ulti here, which is a massive mistake, because you have Nemesis available. You should almost never pop ulti if you have Nemesis form available, because that way you can do the armor cancel trick to get the armor back again from popping Nemesis. It's an incredibly powerful technique and allows you to totally steamroll teams. So popping ulti here, big mistake, right? Again, you could have used Nemesis form, and especially I think you would survive here based on like your health situation. I don't think you were in any danger of dying regardless, right? You're already being pocketed by the Mercy. So again, you could have landed, popped Nemesis right now, and then right now you could have run to the team and started fighting. Okay? But I would also look and notice up the scoreboard and be like, look, I've lost 2 already. So what I think my read would have been is, hey, I'm not going to win this fight, and I would just walk away while in Nemesis form. Now that you've popped ulti, you feel like you have to double down and commit, which I understand, but this is not going to go anywhere, because you're going to be fighting a 3-on-4 where they have defensive advantage. So, you go in, they pop window. The moment they popped window, right, you should have come to the side. By the way, the route I would have taken is not this where you walk into the open. I instinctively try to take cover. So to get to them, I would not have run like this. I would have run like this and then cut in. But that would make it a lot easier to deal with this window. The moment that window comes up, you should pop block, because you're going to get absolutely massacred through this. There's 3 strong ranged heroes shooting at you through this window. You're literally going to take something like 300 plus damage per second. Like, you're gonna die so fast. You should always respect window. Right? But you come in here like, oh, I'm gonna punch. No, you're absolutely not. The only chance you had survival was to hold block, get to this pillar, and then like use the wiggle attack to maybe get some value in. But realistically, the chance of you winning this fight, even if you did block, is like 5%. it would truly have to whiff here, like enormously, for that to be possible. I can't believe she's rezzing you here. So at this point, with this res, the res is bad. Very clearly, it's a bad res. So the first thing you should do is throw down shield. Okay, the moment I throw shield right here, and I walk through it while throwing vortex, in order to give me a chance. Because I know that there's other people on point, right? You just saw that there is a Zen and there's a Sigma here. So you should think, hey, they're going to blow me up through this window. So you should throw down shield first. But instead, you try to get greedy, you pop vortex, you try to go for the kill right away. But you see how you've already lost like 400 health? There's just no chance. Like, window or shield was the only way that you could possibly have given a chance at killing the bat. Alright, you're gonna run back again. Again, bad shield, right? Way too. See, like, as soon as you're able to run past a shield, you should recognize this is a bad shield, right? I didn't need the shield to get here. It was just 1 Sigma. I could honestly not throw shield at all and just keep going forward and forward and forward, and use the shield when I get close to the Zen. Like, right now, you could throw a shield like this, for example, and just run down the Sigma, because the Zen's not going to step through that shield to attack you. virtually guarantee it, right? Especially not with the Junkrat pushing in. So you lost 2 again. You just need to reset. One thing I would say is if you want to climb, I mean, mistakes in fights will happen, right? Every fight ends because one team or the other makes a mistake. Just don't be the first one to make a mistake on your team. And you consistently like overextending, like you're the one that kind of causes the fight to get lost, like especially the first couple lives. After that, like sometimes your DPS are getting picked, but sometimes they're getting picked because of your own decisions, like carrying the supports away from them. So just don't be the reason why your team is losing a fight, you know? And it's tough because there's a ton of reads on, especially as tank. There's a lot of reads that you do correctly in order to play tank well. But your DPS bails you out here, kills 2. At this point, it should just be an easy cleanup. This is all just cleanup. Okay. So points capped. So I don't like this. You pop Nemesis right away. Just keep walking, right? Keep walking. Use staff, right, to get people weak before committing to Nemesis. Like I don't think you knew like that Zen would be necessarily close enough for you to get the kill there. I think you could have walked up further and then started doing it, but maybe you did, right? If you actually truly knew, then I think it's a good play. I think most likely I walk up there with staff form before popping Nemesis. But I think this part is actually a pretty good stretch. So you're going to continue the aggression here. Once I see Moira go in, commit. You see how you walk backwards for a little bit? Like keep following. You see, don't stop. Why do you not stop? Because my Moira is committed. If my team is committed, I commit too. Because what's the point of living if my team dies? Right? It's like we all go down on this ship together is a really important mentality. Don't try to be the one where it's like, oh, I'm smarter than my team. Like they're gonna make a play and like try to make a play, make a bad play, and I'm just gonna sit here and be the one who wasn't dumb enough to follow them. Like, but the fight's over if they die anyway, right? This is why I tell supports too. They're like, oh, what do I do if a tank goes out of position? Follow them. And they're like, but I'll die. I'm like, well, but if the tank dies, the fight's over anyway. So at least give your team a chance at winning by following them, pouring resources into them, and maybe it'll turn out into a winning play. But your chance of winning is 0 if you don't try and help at all. So this is a good example of that, which is you're fighting, right? And again, bad shield, right? So Hanzo's clearly not attacking. Like imagine if you had the shield now. Like this is like a fight-winning shield if you could throw it now. But you see how you back up, but why are you backing up, right? You could have, for example, as soon as the Moira came out here, you could have just been blowing her up right here by tracking her right to left, because she's just running forward right now in a straight line, basically. You could have done so much damage to this Moira. Like, you could have like forced the fade out, which could have given your Moira a chance to potentially kill the Hanzo, right? Plus that, plus a good shield, I can virtually guarantee the Hanzo would die and your Moira would live. So the lack of like commitment here, I think is something that I would highlight, right? If your team's gonna make a bad play, unless you think that you can truly turn it around yourself, like go with it. If you die here, it's not a big deal, right? The payload still has time to move anyway. Like you'll respawn, you'll be back here. It'll only cost you like 10 seconds. It's not a big deal, right? Versus the possibility if you kill that Hanzo, like this cart is gonna move for free all the way over to here if you kill that Hanzo. And if the team makes a mistake and dies and staggers and dies after that, then you might actually take the entire second point for free. I think your staff aim, by the way, needs a lot of work. I've noticed you have a lot of trouble aiming the staff. Okay, so this is a good period to think, okay, where's my team? So your Mercy is swapped to Moira here, so you have more of like a ground-bound team. You can't expect to get like flexible healing. Someone has to be moving the cart. I don't even know where your Kiriko's died a while ago. I guess you should realize that. So you just have to slow your roll a little bit, right? Once you took high ground, just slow down. You put the shield, which is clearly not going to work. Like, there's no way the Zed is going to re-challenge a pocketed Rammatra at point blank. So just predicting the future a little bit, like what the enemy will do, is important. You could have followed this without the shield and been totally fine. Right? Again, very clearly, like the Zen was never going to stick around, shield or no shield. So you also don't look back at your team enough, right? Be like, hey, look, is my team in position? Where are all the members of my team? Well, Junk's here, Pharah's above them, Kiriko's here, Moira's here. Okay, so you're basically good to go, right? Now you understand, hey, what's the enemy team lineup look like? Your Pharah gets a pick right away, which is great. You should recognize, hey, where's the Sigma? Because the Sigma is like weirdly out of position here. So he has to roll back. Again, I think the Sigma was a good opportunity here to put a lot of pressure on the Sigma. Um, Not having your shield right now is devastating because the second I saw the Sigmas here, I wall off this and then I commit to kill the Sigma. Right? He has no grass because I see his overhealth, so I know that he popped grasp already. So what's gonna stop me from killing them if I block off the support healing and run down the Sigma? Nothing. He dies here. If you didn't waste that shield on the Zen and you shield off right now and you just run him down, he dies. So dodge rock, great. Like, yeah, so you're gonna shield right here. I think the shield's okay. So you do the cancel trick here. I think that you really want to be going for like a juicier target in this situation. I think the Sigma's okay because like your team is sort of able to help you here, but I don't think this is the best situation. I don't think I pop ultimate yet for sure. I think I just don't feel like the Moira is too far away and has fade. Okay, because I haven't seen her use fade. The Sojourn is actually probably a better option. Like if you ran this angle, forced her to jump, and then chased her down, I think that would be great. But the Sigma has too much health. The Moira is too far away. This does not feel like, hey, I can pop ulti here and win the fight. This is, I punch for a bit, right? Punch, because you still had 6 seconds left in Nemesis, right? You could just punched, created a little bit of space, blocked, bought yourself some time, and then maybe angled this way to see if you have an opportunity to kill the Zen. Right? If I can get like punch, get all the way over here, then cancel, run down to the Zen with ultimate, that would be fine. But right now, this is just I don't feel like is enough value, right, for your ultimate. So trance is popped, and once again, overcommitment, right? You get super excited that you're able to hit everybody with ulti, but you should have at this point you should have just held block and just walked backwards. Like there's way too much damage coming in. You have to recognize whenever Zen's in the game, your instinct as to how long you can live as a tank is off. To be fair, you do end up capping this, right? But I think this is an enemy team mistake versus a good play by you. When trance was popped, the second trance was popped, this Sigma should have walked forwards, like past you and just killed your team. Because like you're not doing any damage. Nobody's doing any damage to him, right? You should just everybody should just walked forward right here, stop this cart, and fought with trance on the point. So this is more an enemy team error than you making a good play. The fact that you popped ulti didn't make a meaningful change on this fight. They're just scared and have like make a game sense mistake to back up here, right? Because they're not actually taking any damage while trance is up. You know, like they're all literally perfectly full health and in no danger of dying. It is extremely lucky that you were able to cap this point. But you know, it's gold, right? Like this happens. Like people will make mistakes. But I'm trying to tell you this because in the future, I don't think that's actually the correct read for what you did there, right? I think you should try to milk more advantage out of Nemesis first before committing to your ultimate. Obviously, bad shield. I'm sure you realize that from the moment you put it down. Yep, I think this is the right call. Like you see that the soldier is kind of overextended. So another thing to think about is angles here, right? So what you do is you walk towards the middle, but I would have walked towards the left. Because every second I walk towards the left, it makes it harder and harder for the Zen to hit me. You walking towards the middle allow more and more people to hit you, which forces you back. I don't think you would have gotten the kill either way, but like little things like that tell me that you're not thinking, like the spatial awareness isn't there. The second that my Pharah pops ulti, I go here and I immediately throw Vortex behind them. Like that should have been your first reaction, is to throw Vortex. Right? Because I think the Sig would have died, for example, if you had thrown Vortex there. Again, another shield, way too short. No one's even attacking you, right? It's just the Sig. It's the Sig and 2 supports here, I think. Or a Sig, a Moira, and a Hanzo. Like, you should just be moving forwards right now. I don't even throw shield for quite a while until Hanzo starts putting pressure on me. I think if you'd been, like, walking forward non-stop, right, this is what it would look like. Right? I would still be right here in his face. And then you could shield off the Hanzo on the right, and then kill both of these. Right? You see how far away you are, right? Then Rock knocks you out of range. 100%. If you just follow along, you can kill this guy much, much sooner. That's like just the real-time read of like, okay, like what can I accomplish? Like, who has momentum right now? Like, who's afraid to fight? So you do your seasonal job, right? You knock off or seal off the Hanzo, kill the Sigma who's overextended. Cool. Again, staff aim. You're having trouble holding at head level and going in straight. So one of the things I mentioned is you got to be able to draw for aiming. Again, I say I don't coach aim, but it's still important. One of the most important things about aiming is being able to draw a straight line left to right. Okay? Like if you just open like Microsoft Paint or something, can you draw a straight line left to right, as straight as you possibly can, right? Slowly or quickly, and just see. Like, and nobody can draw a perfectly straight line, right? But some people have like very little control over the up and down motion, and some people can draw very good straight lines, right? So just something to think about is that's a key skill that you need in order to be good at using your staff. I think this is quite aggressive right now for no reason. I don't know that feels like the moment. I mean, now the tires popped, yes, but I don't know that this felt like quite. I think I would have moved up without using Nemesis first, and then save Nemesis, because you're wasting basically 4 seconds of the Nemesis before you can actually start hitting anybody. I think you get lucky that you kill the Zen here, because the Baptiste should recognize and came back to help, or the Zen should just kick you back around the corner. There's lots of ways that you should have been stopped from getting a kill there. There's no reason that you should have gotten a kill. Okay, I think this is a reasonable job. You're trying to hold them back. So, tough call right here. It's like, okay, he's going to pop Flux. Do I try to kill him, or do I zone backline? I think I try to go for backline here, because he's full health. I don't think that I'm going to be able to... My damage is not that significant, right? I only do 60 damage a second. Like, they can just straight up heal him. I mean, Baptiste is going to have some trouble, but they can straight up heal him faster than I can deal damage. I'd rather stand at this corner and force back the Sojourn and the Baptiste. That way the Sigma has to secure all the kills by himself. Right. So you should recognize at this point the fight's basically over. And we reset. So you have ulti right now, 60 seconds, last fight. You should recognize that these two are overextended. Right? That was your best option, and you should have been moving towards them as soon as possible. So the second that you hear overclock, you should have been going for the Sojourn. Right? She's like very extended. She ends up killing your Pharah here, right? Like you heard this. You heard this. You were in position to immediately start punching her. Right? This death of your Pharah is entirely on you. And like, yeah, your team's able to trade, but that death should never have happened. That Sojourn popped in a really bad location. I don't think you even armor cancel here. Yeah, you just pop it. So remember to toggle and do the armor cancel trick. So you're just trying to chill right now. Again, you're not close enough to really be able to do anything. I don't even know. Like, you still have 3 seconds left. I think you use this Nemesis to get closer. Like, you pop this way too early. I think you use the 3 seconds to get a little bit closer to them, and then you pop ulti after that. Right? But you should have been trying to aim at the Zen the whole time to try to force trance out before your ulti. Now, after Zen pops trance, you should immediately just give up on punching completely and just hold block here and stand in front of the Sigma. Because the Zen obviously can't attack right now. Only the Baptiste and Sigma can attack, so I just want to block the Sigma from attacking anybody and hold. I don't want to punch right now because there's no point in punching. I can't farm ulti, not that I have time left to use an ulti anyway. I can't farm ulti, and I can't damage anybody because trance is up. So just hold block this whole time. Like, don't punch right now. You're 277. Just hold block. It's a big mistake here to try to continue trying to force this fight, especially when you're discorded. Like, think about if instead of doing what you did here, you instead held off your team, right? Held block, stayed at full health, which would have helped your supports heal your Reaper because they would be less worried about you dying, and then you play behind the cart, right? Wait for trance to end, and then you fight this out. Is it a great fight? No, it's not a great fight, but it gives you more than the 0% chance of winning that you actually gave yourself up. You know? When trance happens, just recognize, like, unless your team has extraordinarily high damage output or, like, one-shots, there's almost no way to kill anybody. So just hold block, get health back, and then try to, you know, do something. I don't think you're going to do anything here, yeah. Okay. So we're in defense. You decide to go Sigma. So a big thing is you want to maintain a constant distance against Rein, right? Never let him get anywhere close to being in swing range. So you see how you step forward there? Like, these little micro movements are what can get you killed. So you see how you walk forward right now? There is no reason you should be walking forward right now. all it does is helps get the Rein closer and closer and closer to you, which gets him in hammer range, and it gives you less time to react with Rock if he charges. Right? Again, you see that movement forwards again is a bad move, right? Use the full range potential of Sigma to keep the Rein off of you. When there is a Rein, it's really not your job to kill the backline. There's no functional way that you can get the backline when the Rein is alive and existent, because he'll shield you off whenever possible. The goal here is to break the Rein shield. If you break the Rein shield, the Rein can no longer advance. That's how you win the fight. Is constantly dumping damage into the Rein shield, preventing him from going anywhere or doing anything. If he charges past you, fine, that's a different story. Kill the backline. But generally speaking, in the Sig versus Rein matchup, you should be attacking the Rein shield constantly to wear down the shield and prevent him from doing anything. Now, the cumulative sum of your micro positioning mistakes means that you're now quite close to the Rein, which means when this charge happens, you don't have enough time to pop Rock. And thus you've now lost a good chunk of damage, and you've given up a bunch of space. You lose your Mei, okay? But why do you lose your Mei? Because she gets squished into a corner with the rest of your team because there's no space creation. If you've been doing this correctly, you would still be out here, right, with the Rein over here, and the shield would be broken or nearly broken, because you should have been constantly hammering the shield instead of grasping, and his shield would be like 300 health, and he's not able to just walk forward like this. In which case, your team is fully spread out, and they have cover, and your Mei never dies. So this is entirely on you for just not creating any space for your team. Again, there's no point throwing a shield forward that has like 100 health. Just let it regen. Right? 200 health. Like, this is not like a critical moment. Just let the shield regen right now. Again, another grasp. Grasping at full health is virtually always a mistake. This is one of the comments those commentators like for Sigma, is you basically never want to grasp when you're full health. Nobody wants to shoot a Sigma when they're full health anyway. So what's the point of grasp? It doesn't give you any value unless you're using it to like protect a teammate, which is obviously not going to be relevant here. So once the Rein goes, it is now your job to kill everyone. Right? Remember what I said, if the Rein charges past you, now we're in a different story. It is now your job to kill this Baptiste, right? You want to play this corner, kill this Baptiste, hold off the 3 people on your team, and let your team deal with the Rein. It's no longer your job to deal with the Rein. You messed up and let the Rein get too close to you, and it's gotten too far in at this point. That's fine. Like, mistakes happen. Your job is to make the best of the mistake and try to seal off the rest of the team. You grasping here cuts off a critical window where you could have killed this Baptiste. Right? Now the Rein's back into you, you rock him off, but you've taken too much damage and you die. Plus you're walking away from cover. Like why are you walking out this way? Right? You should have been fighting here, holding them back. If you can't hold that corner, retreat to this side of Fire Truck. Like, this kind of stuff is, I think, basic positional play for Midtown. And I don't know if it's unfamiliar with Midtown or like the idea of, hey, like if I hold this corner until they push me back, then drop back 1 corner. I don't know if it's Midtown specifically or the latter concept that you're having trouble with, but that's what I would highlight here is, again, like, try to hold a position. If you're forced to pull back on defense, right, pull back a position. That's all. Like, you're way too far forward right now, and like your Mora just can't keep up with the damage, and then you just give up first point basically for free, right? Again, I think a lot of this feels like you don't know how to play Sigma against Rein. And it's almost like you take your Rammatra style back over, where you want to be much more aggressive, like in their face, but it's completely ineffective when facing off against the Rein. Right? Starting from here, I would just be constantly shooting the Rein. Every moment, shoot the Rein. I don't throw a shield there. Why do I want to throw a shield there? I'm like almost full health. Right? Shield doesn't help against Fire Strike either. I definitely don't grasp here. I don't care. Like, I don't need this extra health from the grasp. I'll just let it fly by. Right? If it has to hit me, it hits me. Right? That would not be ideal. I ideally want to dodge it. But I want to just constantly be hammering this Rein to force him to put the shield up. Because if he puts the shield up, he can't move forward very quickly, and I'm breaking the shield health, which prevents him from advancing so that my team can attack him. Right? Then, at this point, again, out of position. Lucio Boop's pretty funny. Right? Maybe really should have helped by walling the Rein off here. Right? And again, you've given up like 2 corners, right? Already because of your positioning. Then right here, game force forward, bad shield. Right? Then miss your opportunity to get the kills here, and now you just get run over. Right? Just too many cumulative mistakes for you to possibly win or hold this first point. I think losing first point on the first attack is pretty rough. I think that's usually like something like random luck happens. Somebody eats like a random Hanzo headshot or something, or the team is being very misplayed. This is one of the reasons why I say the other tank like played better than you for the vast majority of this game. pretty regular, just spamming. Again, don't bother grasping one fire strike. This is a huge waste. You grasping allows the Rein to now advance all the way to here. Because, again, if you were attacking, he has to hold the shield, and you attack, right? You do 110 damage every second or so, right? Or whatever. every 1.2 seconds, something like that. So that burns down his shield, you know? And that prevents him from doing things. So I would be worried about Rein getting Shatter here. So typically Reins get Shatter every 2 fights. That was a very long first fight, right? Because he charged in, fought, got out, fought again. So it's basically 2 fights right there. I would expect Shatter any moment. Especially if the Rein is getting this aggressive on me, I expect Shatter right now. I think this is a crazy play, doing what you're doing. I just don't understand why you play a close range, or a long range for tanks, a long range hero, and then decide to continually take fights at point blank against the best melee character in the game. Like, this is very odd to me that you're like, hey, Sigma is good at 15, 20 meters, whatever his range is, right? Let me fight against the Rein, who could only swing a hammer like 2 meters away. Why? Why would you do this? Just play range, right? Play here. Attack him constantly. Make him work for every inch that he gets. Why do you walk up here thinking like, oh, I'm going to make a big play, like I'm going to rock and insta-kill him? You can't. He's a tank. Even if you land this rock and the one-shot combo, he will not die because he's a tank. He has so much health. There's no chance of this happening. Then you throw this shield, which obviously doesn't do anything. Like, there's literally no ranged characters that are visible right now. Like, this shield can't do anything. So, also, remember what I said about Shatter? I would expect Shatter now. I was expecting Shatter the whole time. If Rein runs up here super aggressively without his team, I expect that he is Shatter. And he really, really wants to use Shatter. And then you get Shattered. So, I think it is very lucky that things did not get worse for you here. Right? Very, very lucky that the team... So, the primary reason this doesn't go better for their team is because his team actually is doing it wrong. There are way too many people on cart. Really, only the Zen should probably be on cart right now. The Baptiste, Hanzo, and Torb should all be pushing with the Rein right now. In which case, after the Shatter lands, for sure the Bastion dies, probably you die as well. And then probably, who is this? The Mercy dies. And this fight's won. I think the Rein is making the right read if his team was actually following with him, which they're not, so he makes the wrong read. But I think at higher level play, the other 3 people would have been following the Rein up here, and then your entire team would have wiped right now. It is very, very lucky that you did not die here. I would also point out that I feel like your team has gone Bastion because you're completely unable to stop the Rein from walking over your team. Right? As a tank, which is like your problem. Like, that's your problem as a tank, is if you cannot stop the Rein from walking over your team, then you must kill their backline faster than he kills your backline. But you can't do that either. So that's kind of the issue here, is I feel like the skill discrepancy between you and the opposing tank is like quite significant. And your DPS are basically trying to like cover up for you. At least on Sigma, right? I think your Sigma play just doesn't look that clean to me. It doesn't feel like you are playing the Sigma strengths. Fight's basically over. Resetting. Yeah, I think it's good shots on the Baptiste, forcing him down. So, for the record, I would always choose to get, like in this situation, unless I think I could possibly get a kill, I would choose to attack the target I see versus a target who might be there. Even though it's the Rein, worth it to attack the Rein. Like I said, the way the Rein wins against you is if he gets up to you without the shield breaking. If you break the shield before he gets to you, you will almost always win the fight. So your goal is, how can I use space and spam to break the shield first? This is why you don't throw naked rocks. Honestly, this Rein feels really good. Like, this does not feel like a gold 1 level Rein. Like, I think this Rein is probably feels like at least high plat to me, right? You see how he flicks it really quickly to block the rock? It's like a really clean play. Like, he obviously looks like an experienced Rein. Like, the moment I see that. So I don't know if that's intentional to block the charge yet for the Bastion. If so, then that was a good play. So this shield ends up getting your team killed, right? So the Hanzo comes in and you're shielding off the falling Rein. Like, just shield this way, right? Shield this way, protect your team. The Hanzo's committed right now, right? And because of that, Hanzo kills your Mercy. That shield gave you no value. you're trying to turn it right now. So your team has traded 2 for 1, right? But Bastion dies because he's inside of the lava. And then you're down here without any supports. And that's kind of the problem. I think that you have to look and make an assessment of like, hey, where can I actually play here? It's like, yeah, the Baptiste is theoretically killable here, but you run in here like basically head on, like the Baptiste can't do anything to you, right? Baptiste is 75 damage a burst, 150 if he's headshotting you. If you're just running head on, like this Baptiste is murdering you. You're already at 203. You didn't need the shield for the Rein. You need the shield for the Baptiste. Like the Baptiste is literally gonna kill you. I don't think the Rein even need to be here. I think the Baptiste would have beat you alone without the Moira showing up. Right? And again, way too close. Right? Window gets popped. I don't even think he even needed window. And then just get shredded and die. So I think that you should make like a realistic appraisal. Like, hey, can I beat this? Can I actually beat this Baptiste? And if not, it's okay. Like you killed the Zen. Right? You killed the Zen here. And it would have been totally okay to just be like, you know what? I'm just going to let the Baptiste go. Because you know the Rein is coming. You could hear / see him. The Rein's over here. I think it would totally be fine to just go this way and just walk up here. And then if you were up here, you probably help kill the Storm. Well, Torb dies anyway. You regroup with your team, and then you can stop the card. But the hyper-aggressive play, which again, I think is a good idea while you're learning, but I'm just highlighting to you, I think this hyper-aggressive play is not a good play. I do not think that even me with better aim, I don't think that I could have killed the Baptiste in that situation. He has too many tools to fight me off before the Rein can come in and change the fight. Good-ish job blocking the Shatter. I really think you should be attacking the Baptiste. So this whole time, you kind of had access to the Baptiste, but you keep attacking the Rein. Right? Like, attack the Rein if you don't have a choice, but like, right here, you should be attacking the Baptiste, because the Rein looks like he's gonna die, but he's not gonna die, right? You really need to be killing the Baptiste. Like, see how low the Baptiste is right now? Like, the soldier's trying to kill him too. At any moment in time, you could have rocked him right there, right? Rocked him and done the one shot. You had a lot of options there to try to kill the Baptiste. And if you don't kill the Baptiste, the Rein's never gonna die. Right? This continues the trend of just like the Rein just walks over you. You don't know how to play the stuff like that. Also feels like, or I'm like, wow, this tank's actually really good. Like he baited that with the fake charge. Here should go bluff charge. Once again, like when he goes over here, why would you walk closer to him? Right? You got to give him like a little bit of space here. He could have honestly just kept swinging here. It's surprising that he decides to back off. I guess your team's coming up, but. So the second I hear dragon, you know where the Hanzo is, right? The Hanzo has to be somewhere in this room. You must assume the dragon's coming towards you. You should have immediately, the second you heard dragon, walk to the left, right? There's no way he's sending the dragon this way. So just from a game sense perspective, you could have been aware right away of where that dragon was going. Then you decide to just stand in this dragon. Like you're just standing in the dragon right now. Like you could strafe to the left or the right, but then you get stuck over here like on the newsstand. You take a ton of damage here. Then you wake up the Rein, which was not the right call. The second he gets slept, I'm like, great. Now I have a chance to kill the backline. I do not want to wake up the full health Rein, who's in melee distance of me. Right? He's like, great, cool. Like, thank you for waking me up. And now he goes and kills you. You're making life really hard for yourself playing Sigma against Rein here. It's not that Sigma versus Rein is impossible. It's just like basically all the calls you make as Sigma versus Rein are wrong. Like almost every single call you make, like basically plays to the Rein strengths and doesn't play to yours. So now you try to play Rein here to try to do something, which I kind of understand, but I think, yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, ideally you wouldn't have gone that fast. You would have gone this way and just like waited at this corner and gone, but I don't think it's going to make a difference. Like they have big time ult advantage, right? He still has Shatter. Baptiste has Window. Your team has no ultis. There's just no way. Yeah. Okay, so back to Rammatra. Again, I think we talked a lot about Vortex and we talked about Shield and just trying to get value out of both of them. We talked about, how and when to pop Nemesis and understanding when you're overextending and specifically understanding your own team's ability to support you. And like when you try to go those solo plays, like understand that it's a solo play. Like if I turn this corner, I know I don't get help, right? Does that change my decision making about what is about to happen after that? So I think that's really important to highlight. And also ultimate usage, we talked about that too. It's like, look, don't be so greedy. Don't try to like run ultimate down from really far away, right? Pop ultimate when you're already in good position. Don't be in a bad position. Pop ultimate and try to run into a good position. That almost never works. And then on Sigma versus Rein, I think your Sigma play was just honestly very poor. I think your Rammatra play was much better, but your Sigma poor play against at least Rein specifically did not seem like you had any experience playing against Rein, and you were constantly walking into melee distance of the Rein, not saving rock. I don't think you rocked him out of a single charge, right? You didn't rock him out of a single charge. You weren't able to scream for his team. When he did go past you, you weren't aggressive enough at trying to kill his backline. You had very limited impact the entire defensive section. In fact, I think the only kill you got on defense was against that Zen that you fluxed, right? I don't think you got one kill. And when I say kill, I mean a final blow, not a limb. I think limbs are garbage. I think you only got one kill on defense, right, on that Zen, to give you perspective as to like how little impact you had over 3-4 minutes of play. Yeah, and obviously overall themes of just like being too aggressive in places where your team can't support you and you don't have the mechanics to be able to pull it off yourself, right? So make realistic appraisals. Like, can I really, like the Baptiste situation, like, yeah, the Baptiste is at half, but can I really kill him? Right? I have to run a good distance to him. The Rein's gonna be charging in from my backside. And I only at like 2/3 health. That's tough, right? Unless you have really, really good accuracy, it's tough to land that kill on the Baptiste. And he doesn't have any abilities, right? You don't even know that. Does he have lamp? Does he have regen burst? Like, did you see them? It's really, really hard. Okay, hopefully that's helpful.